Over the last year, large language models have proven remarkably capable at resolving standard software tickets. You give the AI agent a specific issue, it writes the required code, and it runs a unit test. That evaluation loop is fast, it costs fractions of a cent in compute, and the result is binary. The code either compiles and passes, or it doesn't. Machine learning engineering, however, is a different class of problem. Verifying a change to a neural network's architecture or a data processing pipeline requires multi-hour training loops running on resource-intensive hardware. The cost of evaluation is massive. Furthermore, research progress is opaque. When an agent tweaks a script and the model's validation accuracy improves, the precise causal factor driving that improvement is often buried under complex interactions. Current AI coding agents struggle here because they treat machine learning engineering like standard software maintenance. They generate massive, monolithic scripts and execute trial and error searches without factoring in the massive economic cost of those long training runs. Automating AI research requires a highly specialized system built specifically to navigate both complex repository architectures and harsh compute constraints. This is the exact problem space addressed by Mars, the modular agent with reflective search. Rather than trying to output a single functional script, Mars is tasked with searching for an optimal multi-file software repository. To truly survive the economic reality of AI research, that search process must be explicitly constrained by a strict compute budget. And to ensure the agent doesn't simply repeat expensive mistakes, it requires a memory system capable of tracking exact causality. Mars abandons naive code generation by enforcing three distinct engineering pillars: modularity, budget-aware planning, and comparative memory. Standard LLM agents typically output massive single-file scripts to execute their machine learning pipelines. This approach quickly exhausts context windows, creates extreme fragility in the codebase, and makes isolating a bug nearly impossible. Mars replaces this with a design, decompose, implement pipeline. Specialized internal agents architect the solution into logical, independent modules, separating data loading from model architecture and training loops. This enables diff-based refinement. The agent can edit specific logic blocks in a standardized format without regenerating or breaking the entire codebase. This graph compares the metal rate performance of the full Mars framework against a variant running without modular decomposition. Stripping away the modular structure drastically reduces overall success. As the search approaches the 24-hour mark, the monolithic approach degrades, unable to manage escalating complexity. Enforcing strict repository-level modularity is the prerequisite for stable, long-horizon exploration. Once the code is stable, the agent has to navigate the search space. It has to decide which experiment to run next. Standard algorithms, like greedy search, optimize strictly for task performance. They evaluate the metric and ignore the compute time required to achieve it. In machine learning, this is an economic trap. Selecting a model that improves accuracy by 0.1% but takes 10 hours to train will quickly bankrupt the search budget. Mars uses a budget-aware Monte Carlo tree search. It actively balances maximizing performance with the expense of execution. The algorithm uses an efficiency-guided reward function. It normalizes the performance metric and then applies a direct penalty weight to high latency. This scatterplot charts execution time against validation accuracy for experiments run during a language processing task. Look at these two node clusters. Both yielded nearly identical validation accuracy, but one took roughly 2,000 seconds to execute, while the other took over 10,000. Standard search would view these as equal. The Mars reward function artificially suppresses the score of the 10,000-second run, forcing the agent to prioritize the faster branch. Looking at the macroscopic results in this chart, we can track the exact impact of this strategy over a 24-hour limit against baseline search methods. After the 6th hour, the budget-aware search establishes a dominant lead over both greedy search and a budget-agnostic tree search. Penalizing latency acts as a heuristic to prune inefficient trajectories, saving the agent's compute budget for higher-yield experiments. Even with efficient navigation, the agent still has to interpret its results. When a multi-hour pipeline finally yields a higher metric, the agent must figure out exactly why. If it alters the learning rate, adjusts the batch size, adds new data augmentation, and accuracy rises, which change is responsible? Standard agent memory mechanisms attempt to read execution logs to figure this out. They frequently hallucinate causes and overgeneralize from noisy data. Mars introduces comparative reflective memory to solve this credit assignment problem. Instead of relying on raw execution logs, the agent analyzes the exact code diff between the current successful solution and the previous best-known solution. This delta analysis mirrors how a human engineer performs an ablation study. It isolates the specific algorithmic change driving the performance shift. That isolated finding is then distilled into a structured, causal lesson and stored in a specialized memory pool for future retrieval. This graph compares memory mechanisms, proving that this strict comparative step is essential. The green line represents the full comparative reflection. The orange line represents standard reflection, where the agent extracts lessons without comparing against the previous best code. Comparative diffing prevents the agent from absorbing hallucinated heuristics, forcing it to extract truthful, causal insights from a noisy environment. We can see all three pillars synthesized during a real-world case study on the IMET 2020 Computer Vision Kaggle task. The Mars architecture leads directly to emergent, strategic behavior that standard LLM scripts cannot replicate. This diagram shows the complete search tree generated by Mars during a silver medal winning run on that task. Early in the exploration, on the far left branch, the agent experiments with a lightweight residual network. Through comparative memory, an iteration here allows the agent to distill Lesson 3, an insight regarding learning rate calibration. Now, trace the search completely across the tree to the far right, reaching an entirely different architectural branch investigating a two-model ensemble. At node 19, the agent successfully retrieves Lesson 3 from that earlier failed residual network branch and correctly applies it to optimize this new ensemble model. This is the core objective of agentic search, the ability to generalize learned knowledge across entirely different search paths. In empirical testing on MLE Bench, 63% of all utilized lessons in Mars originate from exactly this type of cross-branch transfer. By enforcing modular code architecture, strictly budgeting compute through tree search, and mandating causal memory through code diffs, Mars evolves large language models from basic code generators into autonomous machine learning engineers.